you know what they say, a lost battle is not necessarily a lost war, and getting points on the board is most important.
We'll come back to that, and we'll first of all congratulate Christian, congratulate
thank you very much, thank you.
And Max Verstappen. Actually, when you look at it and the association that you've had with Honda over the last few years, fitting way to end.
No, absolutely. I mean, we ran the car, you know, in a historic livery for Honda this weekend, and so to win this race, you know, for them is in what is our final year with Honda Power, you know, it was very fitting. But I think, you know, this weekend Max has been absolutely outstanding, and the hard work was really done yesterday. But today, again, in the race, you know, he was inch perfect. And, you know, McLaren were quick, but we were able to be that bit quicker to hold them behind.
They never got access to clean air, and they were constantly following in your dirty air. Would you have done something different if you were in their position?
It was difficult because the undercut wasn't so powerful today. They tried to dummy us early in the race with a call for Lando, yep. But we just could see you were going to come out in traffic. So we stuck to our guns, and you know, they gave Oscar the first pit stop, and you know, obviously then it was obvious they were going to pit the next lap with Lando, so we just covered that. It was a little tight on the pit lane exit, but you know, perfectly fair. And you know, thereafter it was a flat out race. I mean, there was no tar saving in that race. It was just flat out to the flag then.
Obviously, Yuki had a great start to the weekend.
Yep.
Yesterday was maybe not exactly what you would have expected, but solid start considering coming into the weekend with not much preparation. Do you feel that you've managed to go in a direction this weekend, probably development-wise, that makes you guys more comfortable? And will this carry on in Bahrain, or is it a little bit circuit-dependent?
Well, Bahrain's a completely different challenge, but I thought that Yuki actually, you know, that race was totally dominated by qualifying, and probably 90% of the drivers finished where they qualified. And you know, he made one pass, and then we undercut Pierre during the pit stops, and then he was stuck behind Fernando. So you know, he's dialed himself into the car, he's dialed himself into the team, and you know, I think you know, he should make a step forward, you know, certainly over the next few races.
What does today's result and the nature of where the cars, your car and McLaren's car, are being expected?
There's always this debate. I mean, Max, without any debate, is the best driver in the world currently. But you know, you're a team. You're not a driver and a car. You're one team. You win together, you lose together. And you know, we're working very hard. We know that this car has some vices. We know where we need to improve, and everybody is working incredibly hard to achieve that. I think we turned things upside down this weekend to get a car into a window that Max could make use of. And you know, Suzuka is a driver's circuit, but you've also got to have a car to be able to deliver. And you know, I think credit to the engineering team as well this weekend for giving him something that he could finally work with.
McLaren have been, you know, they started the season off very well, and it kind of really felt like they were a cut above the rest yesterday, but even more so today, it didn't feel like they had any reserves in the tank when you may have thought at the end of the race they could have, you know, unleashed some more pace. Do you feel like you guys are matching them now performance-wise, or is that Max making the difference?
Look, that was, you know, from the first stop, the tires were in great shape, the wear was incredibly low, so that was a straight-out fight. Everybody throwing everything at it, and you could see, you know, each of the McLarens looked slightly quicker at different points in time. At one point, Oscar looked the quicker of the pairing. Lando, you know, would come back, and it was. They were fighting literally over tenths and hundredths of a second. We were very strong in turn 11, the chicane at the end of the lap. They were quite strong in the first sector, but we were able to balance it out.
Last one, you were the hunted last year. You're now the hunter this year. It's kind of role reversal. Do you relish that as much as, I mean, you obviously had a strong start last year, and Max is driving around any issues you have, but you're right there and you're really poised. So what's the different challenge this year?
I think what you have to remember, this championship is a marathon, and if last year taught us anything, it's that things can change very quickly.
Yeah.
And there's very little between the top 4 teams at the moment, and it's going to be about development. We have a big regulation change coming at race 9. You know, how is that going to affect the run of play? So it's all about maximizing your opportunities, and this weekend we've done that. Max has been absolutely, I think, at the top of his game. That was one of the best weekends that he's had in Formula One. Amazing.
Thank you, Christian. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Let you go and celebrate with your team. Another great win under the belt for Max Verstappen. If you can vote for your Sky Sports driver of the day, if you want, by scanning that QR code now, I think the F1 driver of the day was Yuki Tsunoda. Well done to Yuki. Let's hear from him now.
Well, Yuki, it's been a week where you've had to get your head around a lot of new things. Today, did you think you drove a strong race overall?
Yeah, I'm happy with the race in terms of my performance, but obviously in terms of results, it's quite tough, especially for home Grand Prix. I was definitely expecting more, and at least I wanted to finish in a point. So yeah, it's mixed feeling.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose it was the Q2 that's cost you ultimately, because no
Definitely.
one was really able to make ground. Looking overall, you've been close to Max at times, and clearly there is pace in that car. How confident are you can get on top of it and get close to him on a regular basis?
You know, like this 53, 54 laps I got in this race was the most laps I had in this car. You know, every laps I was learning, and finally I got decent laps in the car, and I felt definitely more confidence in the car, and you know, I just feel overall controlled more towards the end of the race. So I'm sure, you know, if I have one more qualifying, which won't happen, which is a bit too late, but I'm sure it'll be a little bit different as well. So you know, just I think I'm happy you know, considering the amount of time I had. But because of just home Grand Prix, you know, I just wanted to finish the point. But you know, just have to build a pace. You know, it's fortunately that there's a Max that I can learn most from him. So I just keep what I'm doing, and yeah, I'm excited for the Bahrain actually. Yeah.
Jack joins us from commentary. Jack, let's just get your thoughts if we could. Yuki's day, Max's day, Red Bull's day overall.
Overall, well, Max, amazing, definitely. But it's not only Max. It's together with the team, because, okay, he drove amazingly, but he also worked with his engineer, with his team to get the car there. It's not just the team showing him data, oh, you have to drive like this. It's him also being super involved, explaining what he needs, what he wants, and being forceful in going in the slow downforce. They discussed it, and they thought, okay, on paper it's slower, but it will pay off, and it did.
And Yuki, I mean, you've driven
Yuki,
today.
no. Yeah, okay, we're in Japan, that's normal.
Okay.
You know, is there a surprise there? This is a fan thing. It has nothing to do with the performance on the track. He went for the safe solution. Let's bolt a lot of wing on that car. But as soon as they started pushing quali and in the race, it just didn't pay off, and it was never going to.
Elongated test session almost for him, wasn't it, in the fact that he was getting used to that car. He just talked about it there. Maybe they'll take a few more risks when they get to Bahrain.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's quite a poignant reminder that he made us there, that those 53 laps are the longest stint he's had in the car. We obviously had really curtailed sessions throughout the weekend as well, so that would have also stunted his learning curve a little bit. So let's not forget the mountain that Yuki had to climb this weekend, and I think all things considered, he's taken it on pretty well. And I think it'll only get stronger, of course. As we say, these things take a little bit of time, and I think he's off to a great start, so well done to him.
Okay, could McLaren have been more aggressive, though? That's a question I'll put to Jack in a couple of moments' time as well. But first of all, let's hear from Andrea Stella talking to Ted.
Well, Andrea, it's a double podium. We're going up towards the podium. But is that what happens today when you get out-qualified by Max Verstappen on form?
Well, certainly the race was mostly decided yesterday when, for a matter of a few milliseconds, Verstappen managed to score the pole position, defend it in the first lap today, and then there wasn't much action going on. I think the pit stop timing was pretty much to play with, and it just ended up with the same result as the qualifying. I think a good result still for us, a lot of points for the constructor and a lot of points for both our drivers. Encouraging, again, indications from the performance of our car, but clearly we see that the others are not far and sometimes even ahead.
Okay, well, yeah, they're ahead today. Just explain what you mean. Red Bull had a 1 second slower stop than you did.
The thing is that we saw that staying out would have not been faster than pitting. And then the degradation with the new tarmac. Suzuka has changed completely its personality. The degradation is now very low. and this means that it gets very difficult to overtake if you are on the same strategy. It takes like 0.8 of a second to be able to even attack the car ahead.
Just finally explain to people why you didn't want to let Oscar have a go at Max.
Like I've said before, it takes about 0.8 of a second, a lot of dirty air, and your performance drops. So I think it's fair that Oscar makes the comment and gives the input to the pit wall, but I think today was simply not possible to overtake. And
Oscar got close on Lando.
yeah, he got close on Lando because Lando was managing his tire. I think we need to be a little careful in judging superficially.
Good. That explains it. Thank you very much.
Andrea Stella's was keeping a... Yeah, didn't react to it too much, did he? But there we are. We'll come back to that. Let's talk to Isaac Hadjar. What a weekend you've had. Now, how much did you enjoy that? Starting alongside your great hero, Lewis. Unfortunately, he went past you, but that doesn't matter. I mean, you must have been able to watch him for a bit and enjoy that.
I mean, we are not fighting Lewis today. Obviously, it was out of reach. But what was good was definitely the start. We held position, was threatening a bit on Kimi, but not enough. And yeah, that was the perfect race today.
You had some good team radio at the end. You know, it's a good place to get some points, secure some points, eh? Suzuka, driver's circuit.
I think it's a cool place to score your first points, honestly. But yeah, super happy. I really love this place. And also, it was super demanding. I was just completely destroyed the last quarter of the race. Yeah.
Isaac, you were almost French toast in Q1 yesterday because of your belt issue, but you managed to sort that problem out. Now, performance has been something that you have already shown this season. I mean, you had a really great start to your practice sessions and qualifying in Australia, but now you've got some points on the board. How good does that feel?
Yeah, already in Shanghai, to be fair, I think we found even more pace. It did not translate into points because of the strategy, but even though we were running comfortably. But what was the improvement made? I think I still found even more pace in qualifying, and this time I was more aggressive in the start of the race, so I could hold my position and finally get the points.
Well, you were saying that for the last quarter of the race you were cooked. I guess that's the neck. Was that affecting the driving at all?
I was still flat out, but I was definitely suffering a bit, so maybe I was leaving some margin in the fast bits. So yeah, I think I would have been even more efficient if I was less tired, that's for sure, but definitely this was the best practice you can get, so yeah.
Just the last one. We laughed about it yesterday. Obviously, it was not a laughing matter when it's happening to yourself, but the journey that you went on from that first part of qualifying to get yourself through, to start in the position you did, how much confidence did that give you, being able to drive around, let's call it your little problem from Saturday, to get into the race today and then carry that through?
Yeah, this nearly cost us our weekend. Yeah. Can you imagine?
Yeah, I mean, how do you explain that one away? Must be a first, that one.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm glad and I survived that one. In the end, it makes it even more enjoyable. So
you can survive anything now.
I think, yeah, if I survive this one, then definitely really, really strong.
Just one final one. Christian Horner, when he's been talking to us, has been singing your praises off camera. I'm sure he'll do it on camera. But with what's going on and how quickly things change at Red Bull, you're probably next in line now.
To be honest, I'm really enjoying where I'm at the moment. I would never refuse a call, that's for sure. But yeah, let's see. Honestly, I'm just having fun at the moment.
Isaac, just on that dynamic, because we haven't had a chance to ask you, but obviously Liam's now come into the team. You had Yuki next to you before, who was a very experienced Formula One driver. So who now takes the reins? Who's the more experienced driver? What's the dynamic at Racing Bulls?
I still think Liam is more experienced, even within the team. He was already driving for them in 23, so he's bringing a bit more experience than I have. But obviously I started the year here, so let's call it equal. And but yeah, we're definitely working really, really well together.
Well done, walking taller now. That's brilliant. Congratulations, well done, Isaac. We'll let you get on.
Thank you, guys.
And have the debrief. But yeah, I mean, fantastic. Actually, the way he's come in after the start that he had, or the DNS that he had in Australia, completely and utterly about-faced it very quickly. There's no doubt about it that he is quick. People are saying within that team they are extremely impressed with his one-lap pace in particular, and then showed it in the race today.
He is quick, and also he's shown good reaction after problems, or like after Melbourne. It would have been easy to collapse. But no, he reacted and he came back stronger. And same thing yesterday. Now, the good thing is this is the most physical racetrack on the calendar, and having it as the third race of the season is not the easiest of things.
Okay, I need to come back to you, Jack, because we talked to Christian about it. I've talked to Naomi, and we obviously just heard from Andrea Stella, who was saying that they saw what happened with George. The overcut wouldn't have worked. Didn't feel that the undercut would have worked as well, because you needed about 8/10 per lap, and then they didn't try anything different with their strategy. What do you make of those kind of reasons?
That's not what we were seeing on TV, so I'm not sure. If the undercut worked, like you're saying now, because the outlap was quick enough, then Piastri would have overtaken Norris, as Piastri pitted a lap earlier, and that wasn't the case. So no, there was some damage control there. They didn't seem to be overly disappointed, which is strange, because they came here, they should have been first and second, and they weren't. They actually were beaten, not because they were slow, they actually were beaten by a team and a driver that were better than them. That should hurt. That should make you think a little bit, there's something we did wrong this weekend, because we should at least have had a better shot. And if you pit the same lap, like you say, of course you won't overtake, unless there's a big issue in a pit stop, you try. At worst, you pit behind or behind your teammate and you exchange a position, but at least you get a chance.
Other thing, could they have released Oscar, let him have a go at it, and then swapped it back at the end if he couldn't have made the overtake, or put the pressure on Max to make a mistake?
They possibly could have. It looked like he was a little bit racier. Some of the excuse was the turbulent air, but Oscar would have been in that turbulent air as well. And then he was saying that Lando was, saving his tires for the end. So I don't really know, but it just feels like they always want to run things on the conservative side rather than taking any gambles or any risks, or just being a little more on the racy side. It feels like they want to get some safe points on the board. They're thinking about the long game and not necessarily the individual wins.
Okay, with the temperature as it was, and a lack really of any degradation today. It was like a fast Monaco. Down here is the man now, Kimi. Well done, fastest lap. You finished where you started. All in all, a pretty decent first Suzuka effort.
Yeah, it was not bad. What I'm most happy about today is the confidence I had in the car, and the confidence to push, which I didn't have on Friday and start of Saturday. So definitely, it was nice to make a further step from qualifying, and definitely looking forward to next weekend.
It's just a shame they don't hand out points anymore for fastest laps. But, I mean, is it enough of a reward considering where you started and the confidence you had at the beginning of the weekend versus having the fastest lap at the end of it? So, big transformation.
Was quite surprising to get fastest lap. But, yeah, definitely the feeling that I had in the car is the most important. Today I had a really good feeling. I was able to explore the limit and to push and to play with the car as well. So definitely it's good learning and good experience for next time.
And we saw it took a while for you to get up to speed. It's a tough track, that's understandably, until qualifying. So, but then we saw in the race, your car balance was good, you could drive it well. So how did you manage to get the setup in the right place? Because it took a long time to get to speed.
Yeah, I mean, definitely the long runs in FP was really good learning. And today in the laps to the grid, I was really trying to feel the limit straight away to have a feeling as well with the car. And then also, the wind was quite different as well. So, was a mix of things. And as well on the medium, I felt good with the balance. And then I didn't want to touch it for hard because I was feeling confident with it. The car was feeling good, so definitely was good.
Kimi, I was talking to Bono, your race engineer, and of course Lewis's race engineer before you, and he said the great thing about you is how quickly you learn, and you were building through the weekend. When you look at Ollie Behrman, I think you were due to do a Japanese Super Formula test here. He put that to good use to get inside the top 10. Yeah. You didn't have that luxury because you were ill, and yet you felt like you were, as you said, building your way into the weekend.
Well, definitely, I'm a bit disappointed with FP, how FP went, because FP1 was actually quite okay, but then FP2, FP3 was really bad driving, to be honest, and that took the confidence away. But then in quali, I was able to make a big step forward. So definitely, for next time, need to start a bit better for FP, to arrive more prepared for qualifying, and then we see in the race.
What are those struggles coming down to, though? Is it because you're coming to some of these circuits for the first time in a Formula One car? Obviously here different because it's your first time on the track. But is it something of you adapting to the team, adapting to Formula One, or just inherently this track related?
Well, I think was also trying to extract the best out of the tire, especially Sector 1. In FP, I was always arriving with no real temperature in the tire and was just sliding around the first sector, and that was taking confidence away, of course. So definitely, you know, qualifying, I really changed the warm-up, and you know, also having a consistent warm-up every run really helped to build the confidence, and yeah, so that was good learning.
Well, that's impressive. And physically, because, you know, this is the toughest track in F1, third one in the season. So how did you get ready for that? Was it difficult in the race?
Yeah, physically, I'm not gonna lie, was difficult because there was no management at the end. It was a pretty qualifying lap every lap, and you know, especially with the new surface, you know, the deck is double the less. So you're just flat out in the first sector, and then you manage a little bit in the second sector. But yeah, physically, I'm not gonna lie, was quite tough.
Kimmy, we were sat quite nearby to your dad, Marco, and your sister. Your dad's there and he's got a couple of laptops open and he's looking at the data. And next to him is your sister who had an iPad open.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if she's watching the data as well.
No, I think she was playing some game.
Okay,
Yeah.
She did have very cute pink headsets on with animated pictures of you on it. I thought that was a nice touch.
She must be loving it, though, following her brother around
Probably
the world.
thinks he's the
watching it.
coolest person in the world.
Yeah, definitely, she's enjoying, and but you know, the thing is, I don't get to spend much time with her as well. So it's good that we spend time together here at the track, and she's enjoying so far. So that's nice.
And also, you're studying for your exams, right? So
Yeah.
you've got it, when you're not here, you've got your head in your books.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm trying to finish school, so then I can just focus into racing.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Fantastic.
He's a busy
Thank you.
boy.
Well
He's a very
done.
busy boy. Appreciate your time, Kimmy. Let's.
George, yeah. I'm seeing you chat there to Lewis. I'm wondering if you're both reflecting. It was one of those days where it was very hard to make ground.
Yeah, really difficult. I think, you know, the last 2 weekends it's been an easy one-stop strategy, and I think when the circuits get resurfaced, I think Pirelli need to bring softer tyres because that hard tyre could go forever. We were pushing so far, so hard, but you just couldn't overtake, and I don't think I would have had the pace of the top three, but I was just matching the pace of Charles, and I couldn't get by.
Listen, you're maxing out what you can do. I mean, that's been the case, I think, for the first 3 races. Is your mindset this car, and we will add performance to mix it with those top 2 teams, and I've got to keep myself in position until if that happens?
I think in the last couple of years I've not been very consistent myself, and it's something I've wanted to work on, maybe having less of the sort of fluctuations, and it's been a solid start to the year, and I've been happy. I don't think we could have achieved a higher result in the first 2 races. I think today P4 probably would have been a fair result, but we came home in P5. I don't think we've seen the best of McLaren yet. It's been 3 cold races. You know, we've been wearing jackets here, and last week I think when we go to Bahrain in 35 degrees and Saudi in 35 degrees, I think that's where we're going to see those guys excel. So, and we know we've always been pretty strong in the cooler conditions. So I'm keeping my feet on the ground. It's been a great first 3 races, 21 to go. It's still early days.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It is, and that they're hoping, though, that they have addressed some of the vices of the previous Mercedes, and that this is going to be less temperature sensitive. But as George quite rightly pointed out there, Jacques, we have had 3 cool races. So when we get to Bahrain, massive test for them.
Not only for them, a lot of teams suffer in the heat. You know, the cooler it is, the more downforce you have, and everything works better. So it masks a little bit the problems of any car. A good car will still stay a good car, but a car that has issues will get into a window where those issues don't become apparent until Bahrain.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen him, and everyone's got loads of experience around Bahrain. I wonder how much that will count for. But for George, this is actually his best ever result at Suzuka, perhaps surprisingly. And what have you made of? I like this combination that they have there now. We just saw how Kimi Antonelli, he's already box office, isn't he? Whenever he hits the track, things happen. He's really, full of the joys of spring, isn't he? Over team radio, and George, in his own serious way, is just commanding the best as he can at the moment out of that car.
Yeah, I think also inevitably when you are in a team with the likes of Lewis Hamilton, you fall somewhat in a lot of areas in the shadows. And I think George has also benefited from taking the lead in the team, making it a little bit more his own. Of course, the performance is not necessarily where they want it to be. It started off well this weekend, but for some reason that performance didn't translate neither in qualifying or in the race today. But yes, absolutely, when it comes to Antonelli, it's like when we see him on track, we're already starting to see little fireworks. It's exciting to see what's going to come out of him.
And already right on the back of George, as he predicted he would be. Only a second and a half between them at the end of that
he
race.
stayed out very long. George was the first one to stop. That was odd because there was traffic. That was a strange move, mostly when he said the tires don't get used up.
Yeah.
So why would you pit?
Exactly.
Okay.
Rolando, it's the second place. You retained the championship lead. Not a lot happened in the Grand Prix for the viewer. What did happen was that little moment in the pit stops. I don't know if you watched it back or talked it out afterwards. Do you still feel the same as you did at the time or not?
No, I mean, I never expected to come out ahead of him there. Not because I deserved to, but just he had the right of line, he had the space, he had the position, so I wanted to give myself that chance of being there, but I didn't expect him to give any room. He didn't have to give me any room, so nothing to complain about, just some nice racing and a bit of action for the TV. But that was it, I think it was a tough race. I felt like at times we were a little bit quicker, but in the end of the day, just not enough. And the Red Bull was quick. Max was very quick. They've been pretty good the whole weekend. And we just didn't have enough of an advantage today, I think we were probably a little bit quicker, but just maxing clean air and not making any mistakes was enough to stay ahead today. So nothing to complain about. Some things we need to improve with the car because we were suffering a lot today in certain areas comparing to him, but nothing we didn't know before.
Yeah, listen, you were saving your tires to have an attack in that final, I suppose, half dozen laps or thereabouts. How much optimism did you have as you were husbanding that performance that you would be able to maybe threaten him?
Really not a lot. I mean, I was quicker in sector 1 than Max, so I could catch, but the Red Bull is a lot quicker than us in slow speed corners. So even if I got close, like staying close in the hairpin and the final chicane would have been impossible. So it's just too difficult to overtake here, and our strengths and weaknesses are a little bit in the wrong spots at times. We get away with the slow speed in qualifying like yesterday, but today at the end of the race, like I'm losing 1.5 tenths in the hairpin every lap and a tenth in the final chicane every lap, just because the car's not quite to the level of the Red Bull. So we have work to do, and if we can work on that, then I can be even happier. But really, we lost the race yesterday in qualifying. That's where Max won it, and he did a very good job and deserved to win the race today.
Thank you. Well, Oscar, I think it was the first time the top 6 have finished where they started. From your perspective, you've talked about maybe having a bit of radio traffic to be allowed a chance at Max. Did you never think the team were likely to afford you that?
I wasn't really expecting it, no. I just said what I felt, and I thought that if I had the opportunity to get in front of Lando, then maybe I could go and get Max, because my pace felt very strong, and I was able to get into DRS relatively comfortably. I just couldn't get any closer than that. So, thought I would at least ask the question, but that's completely fine with me. We all want to go racing and finishing where we finished because we've earned it. I think we can both say that after qualifying, that's the result we deserve.
Was there any discussion about having a really split strategy, or is it because you're both title contenders early on that wasn't a serious debate? Like one of you running long?
It was a bit of a discussion, but I had people behind that had already pitted. We didn't want to take much risk. I was starting to struggle a bit on the medium, and already we were starting, we'd gone quite long on the medium. So I don't think going long would have necessarily helped that much. I'm sure we'll have a look and see if there was something we could have done differently, but honestly, I think we executed a good race today.
Well done anyway.
I just tried to get an answer from Mark Webber as to whether he could have got Lando Norris. The answer was lovely flags, by the way.
Thank you. Lovely glove, by the way, Simon.
Sort of
going on
amusing
there?
ourselves after the race that we've had today. He couldn't have got him, could he?
No, I don't think so. I wasn't listening. Sorry.
Okay, no,
I was
fine.
busy with the flag.
Could Oscar have got Lando today?
Oh, he tried. Oscar could not get Lando, which means he probably wouldn't have gotten Verstappen either, because Verstappen had the straight line speed.
Yeah, okay. Your thoughts on that?
I think it possibly had something to do with the balance difference that there was between Verstappen and the McLarens. McLarens obviously depending on that speed that they could carry in that first sector, which in the dirty air became more difficult to do. And then Max was obviously quicker in the straight. So would have been tricky to get Max anyway. I don't think Lando would have got past. If he would have been able to get past, he would have got past.
Okay. Let's have a quick look at the constructors table as it stands at the moment. There you can see 111 points, 36 McLaren are ahead of Mercedes and a gap of 14 to Red Bull. Ferrari now pulled a little bit clearer of Williams, but another top 10 for Alex Albon. Okay, we're going to take a short break on this.
Charles, it was a lonely race for you, I think, today. I mean, was that frustrating, or do you think you did well to keep Russell at arm's length today?
I mean, honestly, I think there wasn't anything more in the car. I think as a team we did a good job with strategy, with balance, with just optimizing our result. But I will say it's even more so disappointing when you do everything perfect and then you finish P4 and you are like 2-3 tenths off minimum compared to the guys in front every laps. So yeah, the first stint wasn't too bad, but then we lost a little bit. We lost a little bit of performance, and I think the first stint was okay because they were actually saving a bit more than we were. So yeah, positive is that we maximized our weekend. Negative is that the pace is just not there for now.
Are there solutions in the pipeline? I mean, and are they going to come in the shorter term? We go to Bahrain next, which, I mean, did you sense there in testing this pace deficit which you seem to have at the moment to the top two teams?
Yes, we did. However, on Friday I went in a very specific direction for my driving style, and I felt like this will help me to maximize the car more often than not. But I still need to be confirmed on different weekends, but I'm looking forward to Bahrain to see if that direction works out for me. If it does, then I'm confident that for the rest of the year it's looking good that I will be able to maximize this car at the maximum. But if that means we are P4, it's not great. I just hope there's more performance coming, but we shall have a few things coming soon.
Wish you well. Thank you. Ultimately didn't come, but overall you couldn't really have done anything much more without that safety car or something.
No, I know I did. I think I did the best I could today. Generally lacking performance compared to all the cars that are up ahead of me, particularly Mercedes and McLaren and obviously the Red Bull. We found something on the car that's not been underperforming for the last 3 races. So I'm really hoping when that's fixed, I'll start getting a bit better results. But yeah, I mean, I'm losing just over a tenth a lap with this issue we have. So I'm hoping in the next race it's fixed, and then otherwise qualifying clearly is really important to get a good qualifying, and I'm not extracting the best out of the tyres, so that's something I'll work on.
Yeah, just in terms of that issue to be wrestled with, is it something the team are very confident they can sort out, and once it is, will project you amongst that front, well, 2 teams I suppose?
I think it's just they're aware of it and they don't know what's called, they don't know why, and so as I said, when the new component comes, hopefully it'll be gone and it'll be the same across cars. Considering that, I'm relatively happy with the race pace that I did have, given what I had. But yeah, but otherwise, good performance from the team, and I think myself and Ricardo, I think did a really good job. And the engineers and mechanics also did a really great job. So yeah, hoping onwards and upwards.
Thank you.
Are some rumours in the paddock that there is a fundamental problem with the rear of this car. They're kind of skirting round it at the moment. You wonder whether if it is an individual issue, whether they're going to be able to develop their way around it, or whether at some point they're just going to go, you know, we're not going to be able to fix it and catch up with where the other guys are this year, and we're going to have to switch focus to 2026. What have you
Listening
heard on that?
to Lewis, it gives credence or credibility to the rumor that something's bending at the rear, and so they have to run it high and so on, because he said There's something going on. Nobody has a clue why it's happening. Once we have a new bit, something new that's built, the issue should be away. So it sounds like a stiffness issue somewhere, something that's happening, and looks like they're making a whole new bit because they're not sure which one is creating the issue.
Can't run it stiff on high fuel, and therefore at the moment they are having to run it higher than both drivers would like.
That's what we have understood, yes. We're not sure yet if that's confirmed, but it does sound like they have an inherent problem with the car that needs to be solved before they can make real progress. So unfortunate to be in that position, but I think Charles extracted the most out of it this weekend. It seemed, you know, better yesterday and today than we saw throughout the beginning of practice day.
Okay, right, let's get around a few other drivers before we go. Alex Albon started 9th, finished 9th.
Well, Alex, it was a race where, I suppose, not many moved ground significantly. You had to fight to keep your ground effectively.
Yes, yeah, it was a pretty simple race in many ways. I don't know how it was around the field, but maybe a little bit on the boring side, could you say? But I like them. When I'm scoring points, I don't mind a boring race. So we were kind of a little bit in no man's land. I think Isaac had a strong pace, and some moments in the race we were quicker than him. Some moments in the race he was quicker than me, and yeah, honestly that was pretty much the race.
Unlike you were a bit assertive at times over team radio. A shifting issue, which had you identified in advance of the Grand Prix today, and maybe the strategy call, you weren't quite sure about that either.
Yeah, I think that is honestly me in the car. I am. If you had my radio, you would hear me more like that than not like that. But for the most part, yeah, we had a couple of shift issues that we've been testing all weekend, and we settled on one that we were quite happy with. But it didn't feel like the one that we settled on at the start of the race. So it felt a little bit like what we were driving with in FP1 and FP2, which I wasn't too happy with. And then made the changes, fixed that. Strategy-wise, it was more just because Max overtook me on track, and then we boxed the lap after, and I felt like we just lost unnecessary time in that exchange. So that was all.
Well done today.
Thank you.
Okay, so whilst Carlos Sainz struggles from moving from Ferrari to Williams, as James Vowles was saying to us yesterday, kind of fundamentally different car concepts, and he's dealing with that at the moment. It might take him 5 races, he thinks, to get up to speed. He finished in 14th, and Alex, as you saw, finished in 9th. He's leading the team well at the moment. He's picking up all their points.
He's gotten good points, and today was a good effort, because normally the Williams is a car that's gone backwards in the race, always qualified better than in race, and today managed to keep the same position. So that's a nice positive step.
As every season goes on, his hand looks stronger, bearing in mind where he's come from too, and we know that he's just one of those that in the second Red Bull struggled against Max, still managed to pick up 2 podiums whilst he was doing it, but jettisoned, and he's had to rebuild his career, and he's doing it very positively.
He is, and of course, you know, when you don't have a competitive teammate next to you, you get a little bit complacent. And bringing Sainz in, I think, has reawakened something in him, and he's having to, you know, not leave anything on the table, and that's what we're seeing from him. But it was a bit of a frustrating day. I mean, we expected a little bit more of a game of cat and mouse, and in the end it just felt like a lot of horses dangling with carrots in front of them, and not many of them got their snack, so just unfortunate.
Okay, Ollie Behrman finished in 10th, just behind him. Here he is.
Well, Ollie, it's more points for Haas, and given it's been a slightly tricky pre-season for the team, do you have to be pretty satisfied with your overall weekend in particular?
I think Saturday, Sunday we achieved the maximum that we could have. And honestly, I was quite surprised about our performance in qualifying given our slightly weak performance on Friday. So, you know, we have a different floor this weekend, and it seems like it's working as expected, which is really good, because the team had to rush that, you know, quite far forward given the struggles in Australia. So yeah, I think to come away with P10, it's only 1 point, but we did a decent job today. Didn't quite have the pace to fight the Williams or Hadjar, but you know, we take what we can. I think we did everything we could today.
Did you have a slightly slow pit stop? Did that put you under a little bit of pressure?
Slightly, but nothing out of the, you know, nothing extreme. Honestly, I did tell the team before we pitted, let's not try and do anything crazy, because, you know, we didn't have the pace to catch or overtake the cars ahead. So I didn't want to try and undercut and do something crazy and not be able to finish the race. So
you know, I was never really under threat. I was never really threatening anyone. It was a bit of a lonely race out there for me.
Well-earned point.
Another one who had a terrible start to the season of the rookies, and very un-Ollie Behrman, and then has kind of bounced back. He's doing really well and adapting well into that Haas.
Yeah, he's having fun driving, and that's paying off. He did admit, like Ajar, that it was a little bit physical. This race, all of them, this is a tough track. But he drove superbly all weekend, because that's not a great car.
Yeah, look, if you see where Ocon was for a driver that's as experienced as he is and where Ollie was, he's extracting more out of that car, arguably, than a much more experienced driver than him. So you've got to say well done. But yeah, a few drivers mentioning that they're feeling a little bit dilapidated or, you know, neck pain. I think everyone's going to need a bit of a massage before we head to Bahrain and get any of those cramps out.
Like the Haas livery, though, no doubt. The Cherry Blossom, very good livery of the weekend, as far as I'm concerned. Final word to our race winner, Max Verstappen.
Well, listen, you were flawless, pretty much. I mean, listen, has a corner been turned with the car? Is it too soon to say that? Does it give you optimism? You've got something to really fight for this 5th championship with now?
We still have work to do. I mean, we still have, of course, limitations, but with knowing these limitations, you just try and find that limit of how much you can push it. Yeah, we'll just try and maximize everything with what we have at the moment. But of course, to really fight for the title, we need a bit more, that's for sure.
Well done today, really well done.
Let's finish by posing that to you, Jacques. Been a pleasure to have you with us this weekend. But yeah, he needs a bit more regularly if he's going to fight the quicker McLaren.
But he's always a force that you have to contend with. He will always be there to grab anything he can. But that's another car that will suffer in the heat. It's a car that's difficult to keep in a window. It's really hard to set up. And as soon as the heat comes, it will be even more difficult.
But what he has said is he announced that I'm still here, as you said, to those 2 McLarens there. They are not going to have it all their own way this year.
He's proving that you can absolutely never count him out. I mean, when things get a little bit tough or there's a challenge on the circuit, Max does rise above a lot of those problems. He's able to drive around so many issues that it just proves you can't ever count him out. So he's in this fight, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, we've appreciated your company this weekend, Jack. Where are we next with you? Imola? Is it?
Imola.
Somewhere
so a little bit of a rest.
Some down the line.
It was fun.
We'll see. It's been fun. We've enjoyed it. Next up is Ted's race notebook. Thanks to you as well, by the way. Naomi,
Thanks to
we're
you,
off
of
on
course, as well, Simon.
We're off on the bullet train up to Tokyo this evening. Next up, the Bahrain Grand Prix next weekend. Max Verstappen, though, he's still here and 1 point off Lando Norris. Great win for him. Bye-bye.